There exists a code, a sequence of words so powerful, so charged with an ancient frequency that it can reprogram your financial reality in just 24 hours. I didn't read this in a self-help book. I lived this truth. I discovered this key almost by accident, or perhaps by divine design, in a moment of desperation so absolute that the ground seemed to have disappeared beneath my feet. And what happened in my bank account the next morning wasn't a coincidence, wasn't luck, wasn't chance. It was a direct, unequivocal, and thunderous response from the universe. In the next few minutes, I'm going to share with you the exact phrase, the sacred ritual, and the miraculous result that proved to me, beyond any shadow of doubt, that money isn't something we chase desperately. It's an energy we tune into. And I warn you, with all the seriousness of my soul, what you're about to hear isn't just a story, it's an activation. Hearing these words can trigger a new and powerful financial reality for you, so take a deep breath. If you've ever felt the weight of desperation in your chest, and you're truly ready for real and profound change, pause right now. Go to the comments section and write, "I am ready for change." This isn't just a comment, it's an energetic contract you make with yourself and with the universe. Your transformation journey begins at this exact moment. My story doesn't begin with magic, but with its opposite, a dense, cold, and suffocating energy of scarcity, a heavy and constant sensation in my chest that unfortunately, many of us know all too well. The story begins in the oppressive silence of an apartment at 2 in the morning, where the only light was the anxious glow of a computer screen, illuminating a pale and tired face. On one side of the screen, a spreadsheet with accumulating debts, each red number seeming like a silent scream. On the other, an email inbox full of payment notices, each bold title seeming like a direct accusation of my capacity, my dignity. I didn't just have a lack of money, my identity had merged with that lack. I was the lack of money. My vibration was that of debt, worry, fear. Every thought, every breath, was a silent decree to the universe of there isn't enough. I can't do it. I'll never get out of this. I felt stress physically, a constant pain in my shoulders, as if I were carrying the weight of the world, an acidity in my stomach that would wake me in the middle of the night. I had tried everything, followed all the rules of the material world they teach us. I worked 2 jobs, coming home long after the sun had set and leaving before it rose. I cut all superfluous expenses, gave up coffees with friends, small joys, turning my life into an exercise in gray survival. But the more I struggled, the deeper, darker, more voracious the hole in my soul and bank account seemed to become. It was a spiritual prison disguised as daily life. Outwardly I maintained appearances, a forced smile here, a vague excuse there for not participating in social events. But inside, my vital energy was being consumed by a black hole of financial worry. I was the personification of scarcity. I woke up thinking about debts, spent the day doing impossible mental calculations, and fell asleep with the sharp buzz of anxiety in my ears, a soundtrack to my worst nightmares. It was in that place of absolute surrender, at that breaking point where all my strength was exhausted, and the only thing left was emptiness, that the universe, in its infinite wisdom, delivered the answer to me. It didn't come in a famous book or an expensive seminar. It came in the humblest and most unexpected way possible, an old comment, lost in a forgotten forum in the vastness of the internet. It was a post from years ago, from someone who, like me, was at rock bottom. This person described how, in an act of desperate faith, they used an abundance decree non-stop for an entire day, and how this forced the universe to respond in a shocking way. My first reaction was skeptical scorn, a conditioned reflex from my logical and wounded mind. Just another internet fantasy, I thought. But the story wouldn't let go of me. The seed of possibility was planted in the arid soil of my soul, and a question began to echo, louder and louder, in my mind: what if it's true? What did I have to lose? Absolutely nothing. I had already lost my peace, my joy, my hope. In that moment, in the deep silence of my room, I made the decision that would change everything. I looked at the dark ceiling and said aloud, with a clarity that surprised me, "I accept," not as an arrogant challenge to the universe, but as an act of humble and total faith. I was going to dive headfirst into this mystery. I was going to give the universe 24 hours to prove to me that I was wrong about everything. As soon as the decision was made, a new energy, almost electric, took hold of me. Exhaustion gave way to focused determination. It was the energy of action with purpose, a sensation I hadn't felt in years. The first step was to understand the tool that had been delivered to me. The phrase I had found didn't seem random. I felt it like a sacred vibrational formula, a precise combination of sounds and intentions, created for a specific purpose of cosmic realignment. And the phrase was this, word for word: I am a magnet for divine abundance, and money flows to me from visible and invisible sources with grace and gratitude. Each word, each component in this formula, has immense power and a specific function. Let's deconstruct it. I am isn't a wish, it's a declaration. These are the two most powerful words of creation. By saying I am, you're not asking, you're embodying, activating your divine creator identity, the spark of God that exists within you. Magnet is the word that changes the paradigm. It transforms your energy from pursuit, from lack, from struggle, to an energy of magnetic and effortless attraction. You stop chasing money and become the center to which it's attracted. Divine abundance elevates your decree beyond the limitation of physical money. It connects your desire to the infinite source of all wealth, which includes love, health, opportunities, inspiration, and of course, financial prosperity. It's asking for the wealth of the universe itself. Visible and invisible sources is the permission you give for the miracle. It opens the doors to blessings that your logical mind cannot conceive. Visible sources can be your salary or businesses. Invisible sources can be an unexpected gift, a forgiven debt, an opportunity that comes out of nowhere. It's surrendering to the infinite imagination of the universe. And finally, with grace and gratitude, seals the decree at the highest possible frequency, that of happy, easy, and joyful receiving. Grace removes struggle and suffering from the equation, and gratitude is the recognition that the blessing is already yours, even before it manifests physically. With the tool in hand, I needed to follow the protocol that accompanied it, and this was rigorous, designed to break the matrix of the old reality. Rule 1. Sacred and immersive repetition. The phrase had to be repeated as constantly as possible during 24 complete hours. It wasn't to be said just a few times. It was to become my breathing, my pulse, aloud, and with conviction whenever I was alone, so that the sound waves would vibrate in my physical space, and mentally, like a silent and continuous mantra, when I was near others. The goal was to saturate every cell of my being with this new truth, until there was no room for anything else. Rule 2. The vibration of authentic feeling. This was the crucial point. It wasn't a mechanical act of reciting empty words. The power isn't in the words, but in the emotion behind them. I had to feel the truth of the decree in every fiber of my being. I had to evoke the emotion of gratitude as if I had already received millions. I had to feel the ease of grace, the lightness of not having to struggle, smile while saying the words, feel my chest expand with the sensation of already being abundant. The universe doesn't respond to our words, it responds to our vibration, to the language of the heart. I had to become the living vibration of the phrase. Rule 3. The guardian of the unshakable mind. Doubt is the poison, the antidote to any manifestation. The rule was zero tolerance for doubt. I knew that my mind, trained for years in scarcity, would rebel. Every time a thought of "this is ridiculous," "you're wasting time," or "this will never work," arose, I had a clear instruction: don't fight it, but dominate it and immediately replace it with the power of my decree. Say the phrase aloud, with more force, to drown out the voice of skepticism. I had to become the relentless guardian of the portal of my mind. Rule 4. The sacred commitment of 24 hours. One complete cycle, from 6 a.m. one day to 6 a.m. the next day, not 1 minute less. This represents a death and a rebirth, a spiritual marathon designed to make me die to my old frequency of scarcity and be reborn in a new frequency of abundance. 24 hours, to completely realign my energetic field. With my phone turned off and placed in a drawer to avoid distractions from the outside world, with the sacred formula engraved in my heart and mind, I prepared myself. The sun was beginning to dawn on the horizon, painting the sky with colors of promise. I took a deep breath, a breath that seemed to contain the past, present, and future. It was time to discover if words truly had the power to change worlds. At exactly 6 a.m., the first words came out of my mouth, strangely, almost as if they belonged to someone else. I am a magnet for divine abundance. My old programming, my cynical ego, resisted immediately. A sarcastic voice in my head whispered, "What madness is this? Are you really going to spend the day talking to yourself?" The first hours, 0-6 hours. The painful purification. The first 6 hours were a battle, an intense and painful purification. Each repetition of the phrase was like a wave of light trying to clean decades of sludge, of ingrained scarcity programming. Doubt wasn't my true voice, it was the echo of old beliefs dying, fighting desperately to survive, to maintain focus and not go crazy. I began walking around the house, transforming the decree into a rhythmic mantra, keeping time with my steps. I am a magnet. Step for divine abundance. Step. Toxic thoughts arose like demons. They're going to cut off your electricity while you repeat this nonsense. Your family would think you've lost your mind. It was a war, not against an external force, but against the old version of myself that refused to die, the version that felt safe and familiar in its own misery. I persisted, using Rule 3 like a sword, cutting each negative thought at the moment it was born. The middle of the journey, 6-12 hours. The sudden frequency shift. Around noon, after thousands of repetitions, something magical began to happen. The resistance that was so strong began to disappear. Repetition stopped being a conscious effort and became automatic, fluid, like the beating of my own heart. And it was then that I felt the first real and tangible change. The anxiety in my chest, that constant and faithful companion, had simply dissolved, disappeared. In its place, a deep and calm peace settled that I hadn't felt since childhood. My frequency was literally changing. I felt a subtle buzz in my body, a light and vibrant energy. The word gratitude in the decree took on a life of its own. I looked at a simple houseplant I had in the corner of the room, a plant I ignored every day, and felt an overwhelming wave of love and gratitude for it, for its resilience, for its silent beauty, for the oxygen it gave me. Abundance, I realized at that instant, wasn't about having bundles of cash in the bank. It was about the wealth of life itself that surrounded me, and that I was blind to see. The night brought the final test, the trial by fire. Physical fatigue began to set in, and with it the doors of my mind opened for the deepest and most primal doubts to try to return. For a moment around 2 a.m., in the heavy silence of dawn, my energy wavered dangerously. I felt a deep sadness, an echo of the old despair. A voice now more subtle and treacherous, whispered, "You spent an entire day on this and nothing has changed. The sun will rise and you'll be in the same place, just more tired and more foolish." And it was at that exact moment of darkness, when I was about to give up, that the truest and deepest transformation happened. I surrendered, not in the sense of giving up the task, but of surrendering completely to the process. I stopped worrying about whether it would work or not. I stopped looking for proof. I simply embraced the decree as my only truth, my only reality. And in that act of total surrender of ego, a peace I had never ever felt in my entire life flooded every cell of my being. It was a peace that transcended understanding, a calm in the eye of the hurricane of my life. The last 6 hours were divine. The phrase was no longer something I said, it was something I was. It flowed from me without any effort, a current of pure energy. My mind, normally a whirlwind of noise, was completely silent. There was only me and the vibration of the words, echoing in an interior space of infinite peace. My focus completely shifted from money to divine abundance. I saw it everywhere, in the air I breathed, in the strength of my own body that had endured this marathon, in the silent confidence that all was well. The sensation of grace and gratitude wasn't something I tried to feel, it was my natural state of being. When the alarm sounded at 6 a.m., marking the end of the 24 hours, I didn't feel relief that it was over. I felt reborn. I was physically exhausted, but spiritually full, vibrant. I didn't know what would happen in the outside world, but for the first time in years, I wasn't afraid. I was at peace. And that peace, I knew at that moment, was already the greatest wealth of all. This 24-hour journey was the most difficult, strange, and finally, the most rewarding of my entire life. If the description of this spiritual surgery, this battle for the very soul, resonates with you at a deep level, I ask you to pause and show your support for this message. Subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell, because what I'm going to reveal next is the physical and undeniable proof that this process works, and I want to make sure you're here for the next keys, even deeper ones, that I feel obligated to share. That morning, After the alarm had sounded, the silence in my mind was profound, almost sacred. I felt a calm I had never known, a total absence of that background noise of anxiety that had tormented me for years. I hesitated to pick up my phone. Part of me, my new part, wanted to protect this newfound peace from the outside world, but another part, the one that had committed to the experiment, knew I had to do it. It was the final step of the ritual, with my heart beating strongly, not from fear, but from a vibrant expectation. I picked up the device. I opened my banking app, a gesture that normally caused a knot in my stomach. The screen loaded, a small circle spinning that seemed to take an eternity. And then I saw the proof, the confirmation, the answer. Not one, but two completely unexpected financial blessings that, I guarantee you, weren't there the morning before. The first was a deposit of $487.34. The description said tax refund. Yes, it was a refund I was expecting, but all official information, and even a conversation with an official, had assured me that the processing of that specific batch would take weeks, maybe months. It had been processed, approved, and paid during the night, at an absolutely abnormal speed. A source I considered visible, but which manifested in a completely unexpected and accelerated way. While my mind was still trying to assimilate the shock, my eyes moved down to the second transaction, and that's when my jaw dropped and tears began to flow. A deposit of $250. The sender's name was that of an old client, a project that had ended more than a year ago. He had disappeared without paying the last invoice, leaving me with a feeling of injustice and loss. I had already tried to contact him in every way, without success. I had completely given up on that money, mentally classifying it as lost forever, and there it was. A source I considered not only invisible but impossible. The total amount, $737.34, wasn't a fortune that would solve all my problems forever. But it wasn't about the amount, it was about the sign. The timing, the synchronicity. The universe didn't just send me a wink, it sent me a thunderous, documented, and undeniable confirmation. Could it be an extraordinary coincidence? To the small and skeptical mind I had before, maybe. But for someone who went through that 24-hour spiritual surgery, for someone who understands energy and vibration, the message was crystal clear. When you align your internal frequency with divine abundance, the material universe has no choice but to reorganize itself to match that frequency. It's not magic, it's law. The proof that bank statement represented changed my life forever. Not because of the money, but because of the irrefutable proof that we are the powerful creators of our reality. So, what's the true lesson here? What's the true wealth I gained in those 24 hours, and that continues to multiply in my life to this day? The money was wonderful, it was the proof I needed, but it was just the symptom of the cure, not the cure itself. The deep lesson, the golden key, is that each one of us, without exception, has a latent divine power within us to decree and shape our own reality. This 24-hour challenge isn't a magic trick or a spell to make quick money. It's an activation tool. It's a vibrational shock process designed to awaken you to your true identity as a conscious creator of abundance. The real change, the deepest and most lasting one, happened inside me. The ritual demolished the walls of the scarcity prison where my mind had lived for decades. It broke the victim thought patterns of fear and lack. And once my internal vibration changed from I don't have to I am abundance, my external world was forced by universal law to change with it to reflect that new truth. Of course, action in the material world continues to be important. We're here to have a physical experience. Action is how we anchor spiritual energy on earth. But the difference is monumental. When you act from a vibration of desperation and scarcity, your actions are heavy, ineffective, and repel opportunities. When you act from a vibration of abundance, grace, and confidence, your actions become 1,000 times more powerful and effective. You don't chase clients, you attract them. You don't look for opportunities, they find you. You act with inspiration, not with desperate perspiration. The money that appeared was the external manifestation, the echo in the physical world. But the true wealth, the incalculable fortune, was the discovery of my internal power. It was the visceral understanding that I'm not a victim of circumstances, at the mercy of the economy or luck. I am the master of my own energy. I am the programmer of my reality. And that consciousness, that sovereignty over your own being, is the supreme freedom. It's the greatest wealth any human being can achieve. And now, with a heart full of gratitude, I want to pass this blessing, this key to you. I'm not sharing this as a simple story to entertain, I'm delivering a sacred key to you. A key that has the power to open the doors of divine abundance in your life, the same way it opened in mine. If you feel the call in your soul, if you feel a yes vibrating in your chest to unlock your own abundance, I invite you to accept this sacred challenge. Go to the comments right now, at this instant, and write with intention and power, "I am divine abundance." By doing this, you're not just writing words, you're declaring your intention to the universe, you're planting the seed and joining a growing community of other conscious creators who are reclaiming their power. And of course, if this message, this testimony, and this power resonated with your soul, show your support and commit to your journey. Subscribe to the channel and, more importantly, activate the bell for all notifications. There are many other keys, many other secrets about the laws of the universe that I feel I have the mission to share with you to help you accelerate your manifestation and freedom journey. Always remember this: the universe isn't testing you, it's simply waiting for your decree, it's waiting for your command. Believe in your power. Because as I discovered in the most miraculous and undeniable way possible, your word is a command.